For the upper back smash, we're actually going to be going over all of the area from the base of the rib cage up to, but just below the base of the neck. Up into the shoulder blades, around the shoulder blades, above and below them. We're even going to go into our rib cage, as the tissues in between the individual ribs can get really gristly, really tight and stiff. It can actually hinder our overhead position quite a bit. Remember, this stuff is going to open up our tissue. It's going to soften it up if it's been stiff from either working out or lack of working out or sitting for long periods of time, not getting overhead movement. It's going to open up those tissues, soften them up so that we can stretch them out even more. So I'd recommend doing this either before you're stretching, before your workout, or even post-workout to kind of help with that recovery, or even just before bedtime. You can spend anywhere from 30 seconds up to 5 minutes in each area that we're going to be focusing on. I'm going to use a number of different tools from our foam roller where I'm going to start. The foam roller has a larger surface area, so it's going to cover a lot of different tissues and areas all at once. We call that global because it covers a lot of things in a large surface area. So it's not going to be able to penetrate really deep, but it's a great way to start. Then I'm going to use the medicine ball to kind of get at our rib cage. It's a really dense ball, so it's a great way to just get into those tissues. You'll feel this kind of like rumble, almost like when you're driving down the highway, that rumble strip. As you go across those ribs, you'll probably feel and hear some of those tissues kind of popping and snapping. That's kind of what we want. If you feel any kind of like pain, numbing, tingling, that's not good, but use this at your own risk and get in there. We're going to use the double lacrosse ball or the peanut. It's just 2 lacrosse balls duct taped together to get in between our shoulder blades, to get into those tissues there, since they both roll at the same pace and they fit nice in a nice spot there in between the shoulder blades. And then we're going to use that single lacrosse ball right there next to the medicine ball, and we're going to penetrate into underneath the shoulder blade, okay, the individual shoulder blade. Just get really deep into those tissues, because sometimes the tissue underneath our shoulder blade can even be impacted by our workouts, and it can get stiff and gristly, and it can really hinder that overhead movement. So for the foam roller here, I am going to place this foam roller at the base of my rib cage. My feet are hip width apart. I'm going to drive my heels into the ground, raising my hips off the ground, and slowly roll myself up till just below the neck. From here, you can pull the shoulder blades together, kind of expose that tissue between the shoulder blades. You can also bring it back down to the base of the rib cage, go overhead with it, bring the arms out to the side, overhead, reach across. All we're doing when we're moving our arms is we're exposing different tissues and different angles. It's going to allow the foam roller to do its job better. Then from here, you can also get into the armpit area, into the rib cage. Just make sure you do both sides. If you really want to get into that rib cage, you get on the medicine ball. Okay, this is not going to feel too good, but it is very effective at doing its job. I'm actually going to bring my arm up high behind my head. I'm going to roll over to the front of my ribs. Again, guys, do this at your own risk, but just really spend some time in there. You can even use lacrosse ball in this area, but that one's going to take some massive pain tolerance because this gets really uncomfortable. Just dig into those ribs, move up and down, side to side. You can even go into the armpit, back in there. Just make sure you hit both sides. Then we're going to use our double lacrosse ball. What we're going to do, let's try to show you a good angle with this one. So we're actually going to place it with a gap where our spine is right over that gap, and the lacrosse balls are coming up those right between the shoulder blades. Just digging in there. What I'm going to do is pull my shoulder blades apart to expose some of that tissue in there. Again, we want to stay below the neck. Once I get into a good spot in there, I'll bring my arms overhead. Bring them out to the sides. Again, remember, we're just exposing some of those tissues across the body. You can move up and down the spine as you're doing this. If you need to put some more weight down on there, you can grab like a heavy medicine ball, just stack it on top of the chest so it puts pressure directly over top. You can even grab a 45-pound bumper plate, just hold on to it, just continue to smash out those tissues. You can roll side to side on it. And then last, we're using our single lacrosse ball. You'll see where I'm going to put this. It's going to be right between our spine and where our shoulder blade bone is. Here's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to get it underneath there first. Then I'm going to scoot forward and I'm going to retract that shoulder blade by pulling my arm across my body. And then I'm going to find that gap right there where my shoulder blade is opening up. And I'm just going to sit in there. Okay, once I'm in there, I can reach out, reach up, go over the head, reach across below towards my opposite hip. Just getting all those angles. You can hit both sides. Most people, they tend to have one side that's tighter and stiffer than the other. You'll just have to do some exploring on your own. All these tools are very helpful. I'd recommend starting with the foam roller if you're unfamiliar or uncomfortable with the other tools, and then work your way in there. If you find that over time the foam roller is not as effective as it used to be, that will signify that your tissues are getting into a better condition. And you're gonna need to dig a little deeper into those tissues so that you can affect that stretch and movement quality even more. That's how you do an upper back smash.